Hey everybody, welcome to Raising Vibrations, and my name is Simon, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about Pluto, the nodes, and the polarity point integration. And why this video today has inspired me to share this is because I feel that if we are to get in touch with what it means to live our soul desires, understand the soul's journey, to connect more intimately with the space that we are with inside of ourselves, and to progressively become of service to the soul through the ego, then any form of material that helps us access that state of being, I feel is something that we could, use in our lives. Okay, and it doesn't really matter which type of methodology or teaching you like apply to your life to have that get accessed. So by now, some of you have watched videos on astrology, you've watched some of my videos, and on some level, you've got your astrology chart, you're busy trying to make sense of certain things, and you've got this huge, wide spectrum of different types of teachings and different types of points of views and how to look at your chart and what it means, etc. But what I want to do in this video today, and what I want to actually convey as a deeper message more than anything else, is that if we bring what we are learning to an experimental phase within ourselves, then we begin to notice that the teachings and systems that we use are catalysts for us to get in touch with the nature of our journey. And then that's really the most important thing, or the area of attention that should have greater influence in how you watch your movie, how you watch your life. Okay, so does everybody understand what I mean by that? The ability to actually experiment with your existence and to gather information and learn from those experimental movements and I don't want to use the word experiment again, but you get what I'm trying to say here. So with evolutionary astrology, the paradigm talks about these three core fundamental or this core fundamental framework, okay, that the chart, when applied to the astrology chart, gives you a way of relating to what types of unconscious patterning and desire natures and conditioning and integration is needed and needed to become aware of, and needed in order for there to be a sense of soul awakening, right? And so I'm going to just jump into Pluto and help us digest what it's trying to symbolize in the chart, okay? So if you have a look on the screen at the moment, okay, you can see here that I've got the symbol Pluto there, and under each picture, each sign, I've got a picture, right? So there's the north and south node, there's that picture there, and there's the polarity, the yin yang, okay? So when we look at Pluto in the astrology chart, okay, on the deepest level, it correlates to the nature of attachment, okay, that we have as human beings, and that attachment is manifested through choice and desire, okay? Through choice and desire leads to attachment. So from that space, from that perspective, the nature of this life comes through the archetype of Pluto, okay? So everything in the ocean is completely holistic. Everything in the ocean, everything in water has no separation. And so when there's no separation, ask any Pisces for that matter, you'll notice that the identity of anything cannot be seen because everything is one. It's like it is the totality. And so the source of creation in itself is that. It is the non-duality of existence. It is the expression of everything that is one. And yet, at the same time, the nature of its self-awareness cannot be present. Think about that. Everything that is unified in itself loses its sense of identity. And so through that sense of identity, the objectivity or awareness of self is not present. So the act of something that manifests to create separation, the manifestation of separation, the choice to know the self, is rooted in Pluto, because Pluto represents the splitting of the atom. It represents the choice that separates us from the totality in order for us to see more of the totality. Does that make sense? So whenever we have a desire that we choose to experience ourselves through, it manifests through a choice. And so through choice, we naturally move towards what we are seeking attachment to. And when we merge with that attachment, we experience that. So the example that I was giving to somebody in my schools was, for me, I've never had the desire to play the guitar. And because of that being the case, the attachment to owning a guitar, having any friends that would have guitars, as a general thumb rule, is not really something that I experience on a day-to-day basis. In fact, it is the very reason as to why, for me, I'm musically challenged in that area, because my soul is not moving in that direction. And so just by not making that choice, I'm also not going to the guitar experience and learning how to play the guitar, and I'm not attaching to that experience. But at the same time, I'm also making the choice to stay where I am. Now, in this case, I have a deep desire to share material of something that I'm interested in on the internet. And so through that choice to want to share that, I manifest attachment. An attachment would be to you, the subscribers. The attachment would be to the recording equipment that I have. The attachment would be to the experience of what it's like to record, upload, and chat to you guys when you share your own personal interaction and how you experience this, as an example. And then on a deeper level, the process becomes what is spiritually awakening. And this is what the core fundamental truth of Pluto is in the chart from EA's perspective is why? Why the attachment? What's the desire? What is moving the desire? So we have choice, attachment, and desire that creates an ongoing evolutionary cycle. And so for every single one of us, whether it be that we choose to experience life through being a baker, to experience life as being a writer, to experience life as choosing to learn numerology or learn Vedic astrology or learn sidereal astrology, it doesn't matter, because the fundamental archetype for any attachment is rooted in the desire to want to know something and osmose with it, Pluto. So from that point of view, the transcendence of every human attachment is still manifested through Pluto. Therefore, Pluto itself is the core of the chart, because it is the movement that is allowing us to move. So when you look at the picture at the bottom over here, you see the ocean. And I love it because it's such a beautiful and poetic way to explain the core teaching that Pluto represents from EA's perspective, which is that it is the ocean and the wave analogy, okay? The wave forms itself, as you can see over there, out from the ocean. And as it forms itself from the ocean, there's this natural energy flow of a direction. And as you can see over here, out of the ocean of everything that is connectedness, the wave forms and begins to experience a journey, which then returns back to the ocean. And so each desire that we have relative to choice, we form an attachment, we go on a journey. And then when we experience and exhaust the desire, what we are left with is the imprinting of that, which moves us on to the core identity that you see over here, right? Identity, conditioning, and direction, the lunar nodes. So the south node and the north node of the chart is operated in this dynamic. Because the nature of desire and choice from Pluto's point of view is something that is inherently an energetic expression, the conscious representation or attachment on an ego level. In other words, the human brain, the body, your emotional attachment to things through the lunar nodes. So the identity in which we see the reflection of our desires is reflected through the lunar nodes. So when you have, like in my case, as an example, Pluto in the 10th house, South Node in this the 11th house, the nature of those desires in the past dynamics, and when I use the word past, I got to be very careful here, because from the point of view of the soul, there is no such thing as the past. It's just multiple lifetimes existing in different frames. So in previous, so that the mind can comprehend, in previous directions, the soul has used the 11th house and whatever sign that's in as a framework, a perspective, an environment, an incubator, okay, that has conditioned and influenced and imprinted those desires. So that's why you can have a soul that has got the Pluto conjunct the Sun in the 10th house with the South Node in the 11th, and you can have somebody that has Pluto conjunct the Sun in the 10th house, but has a South Node in the 3rd. The framework for those souls is going to fundamentally still be the desire to want to evolve through responsibility and through wanting to be recognized as a like a leader in some sense, right? Somebody that wants to take on responsibility and nurture. But the South Node gives the personification of, is that soul having it through a group dynamic, South Node in the 11th house, or was that happening through a more of a social interaction, one-on-one basis, Gemini, right? South Node in the 3rd. And so from that perspective, we can begin to then understand and objectify the nature of dynamics that are contained within the soul and in the chart. And from that perspective, you can begin to notice what then has been of the past and what has been shaping the past that is currently influencing the trajectory of the future. And so this is where the dynamic of polarity point comes into case, right? The polarity point, integration and balance. So we live in a universe that is essentially binary, right? We have on, off, we have, and the reason why it's binary is because the mind is in duality, right? So it's binary from that perspective. And so that binary, we need balance, we need integration. So you have a Pluto in the 10th house, you have South Node in the 8th and the 11th house. Then the polarity point, in other words, the opposite side. So in this case, the opposite side of Pluto in the 10th is Pluto in the 4th. And when you see this, the North Node being in the 5th house in this case, well, then the operative dynamics are 4th house. What does that mean? It means, on a very simple level, it means emotional attachment and integration of feelings of self-identity. And the 5th house correlates to the creative expression. How do I give personification and color to those emotional, that emotional sense of identity? So I've just described to you right now my polarity point. And the fact that I do this recording with everybody today and the way that I present it is such a beautiful expression of that polarity point, because what it does is it's showing you that for me to find balance and integration, I can sit here and intellectualize and describe to you a multiple million types of text. But the thing that really gets you, the subscriber, the person that really loves my channel and loves what I do, what really gets you is when I have the emotion behind the experience and you can feel it. You can feel the passion that I'm bringing through to the experience. You can feel maybe the way that I'm connecting on an emotional level that relates to your humanness, right? That's the polarity point. And then the 5th house is like the creative aspect of it. So let's think of creative ways to translate information that essentially is very nebulous and very non-physical in that sense. How do you translate the soul? Well, here's a creative way. So what I do is I provide pictures. So in this case, you can see that in this, the nodes themselves are translated to the conditioning that is on the skin, the conditioning in the womb, the conditioning in when you were growing up, what was imprinted on you that has psychologically defined the way that you respond to your reality. For somebody, as an example, that was born in Australia and somebody that was born in Taiwan, and somebody that was born in South America. Each of those people have got a specific background frequency, a background conditioning pattern that influences the subjective reality that they interact with. And that comes from the lunar south node and its planetary ruler, which I'll talk about in another video. So the conditioning pattern, and that's what I'm showing you here. With Pluto, to translate Pluto, it's like understanding the nature of desire. Like the ocean creates a wave, and the wave is the desire nature that moves us along to experience it. But once we fulfill that desire, what we are left with is exactly what we began with, which was the same thing. It was just energy. So it returns to the ocean, the wave returns back to the ocean, and progressively over a period of time, it begins to recognize that it was never separated from the ocean to begin with. And that is the whole entire experience of realization, that we are in separateness until we come to realize that the separation was desires that led us along experiences that progressively deepens our sense of awareness to ourselves. So when you see that context in your astrology, you can actually start to begin to then really deepen your sense of understanding of why you are here. Pluto, polarity point, balance and integration, 10th house through the 4th house. So my soul's 10th house desires, what the choices and attachments were to come into this world and say, hey guys, I'd like to be recognized for wanting to do this. I'd like to be in a position where people see me and can place expectations on me and say, will you do this? Or can you share that? Or, etc. And I'll go yeah, I'd like to do that because I want to nurture and grow. So the polarity point is connecting with my community, connecting with you and saying to you, I'm doing this because I'm really wanting to, on some deep level, feel recognized for the responsibility of nurturing and growing. So I see this with my children. I see this with my YouTube channel, nurturing and growing it and supporting you in any way possible. But my question to myself is why? Why do I want to do that? What is the attachment? What is the desire? What's the experience behind it? What am I learning? And that's the key. And then with the nodal axis, it's all it is. The nodal axis, right? The north and south node in your chart is literally a perspective and an environment that conditions your ego. And that is the vehicle for your evolution. So it's like having a pair of binoculars, and let's objectify the nature of what a binocular looks like, right? A binocular is, or binoculars is a lens, like mirror lenses, that are contained within a structure that is shaped towards how the eyes look out into the world. And you'll notice that when you look through a pair of binoculars, your scope is limited to what you can see relative to the boundaries. Think of the boundaries, in other words, the framework of the binoculars as Saturn. Think of the lens as the nodes. Think of Pluto as the desire to look through it. You understand? So each of us has a specific nodal configuration that is designed specifically for the node, for Pluto, to funnel its desires through. Because if we didn't have that, we would literally go insane. We would be we would have too much awareness, which we can't translate. So the nodes act as shaping tools in which the desire nature gets evolved through. And this is the structure of the chart on a metaphysical level. And it's a very profound thing, because when you begin to understand this, you start to see these themes, the spectrum of frequency that you're observing itself through. Okay, so I hope that excited you in some way, shape, or form. In the next video, I'm going to show you what a chart looks like and what the planetary rulers are and stuff, and probably continue my message in that way, okay? Other than that, guys, have a fantastic day, and I will speak to you really, really soon. Bye-bye.